Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Clear skies this evening means it will be feeling chilly, turning wet and windy from the west though, and it's often going to remain unsettled as we head our way into Monday. For the time being though, we have had some sunny spells this afternoon, soon being replaced however by cloud and outbreaks of rain, pushing their way in from the west as a frontal system pushes through. So more clouds, some spells of at times quite heavy and blustery rain, particularly across Northern Ireland as we head our way further into the early hours of Sunday. But to the south of this, a very different story. Mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, so feeling chilly overnight, and it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the time we reach Sunday morning. Now, there is going to be some unsettled weather for the second half of the weekend, mostly cloudy across Scotland, some spells of rain at times, particularly in the west where it could be quite heavy and blustery. But most of the rain will have cleared Northern Ireland through the early hours of the morning, though we can't rule out some showers around coastal areas. Spells of heavy rain will eventually start to push into Wales, southwest England through the course of the morning. But to the east and southeast, a dry and bright start to the day. Any mist and fog should clear away fairly quickly. That's because we're going to start to see those winds pick up, so turning breezy, particularly as we head our way into the afternoon, and heavy downpours eventually pushing in to western areas. But some sunshine will develop by the afternoon across Northern Ireland, so brightening up here and even across the east and southeast, it should be mostly dry and bright, more hazier spells of sunshine as we see a build of high cloud, but still feeling pleasant, and any brighter spells, highs of around 15 degrees Celsius. Further spells of rain heading our way into Monday, pushing into Northern Ireland, Northern England and southern Scotland. Also a second band of heavy rain starting to push in from the south. Elsewhere, there will be some bright and sunny spells, though once again we can't rule out some showers. And I'm afraid the unsettled theme will stick with us into next week, with temperatures around or just above average.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday Five. This is the Saturday Five, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show, with me, Dr. Renee, Emma Dunwell, Cressida Wetton. She's swapped over for Alex, obviously, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshire. Tonight on the show,
we will be answering your questions in Ask the Five.
We will be talking to a former British Army officer about Remembrance Sunday.
We'll take you through the most uplifting stories of the week.
And we'll be showing you more of these.
As my 6-year-old son just came into my room, did the Wakanda Forever arms, and said Zoran for president.
Yes, you guessed it. It's the last batch of Triggered Tantrums.
It's 8 o'clock, and this is Saturday 5 Extra. Welcome to the Saturday 5 Extra. Kai was dancing, but he's lost the plot. We've got a very lively hour coming up for you, and we've got the drinks in. I think he's been there. And of course, we want to know your views as well, so send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. No topics are off limit, well, some might be. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening, I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom at 8:01. It's reported Labour MPs are plotting to oust Sir Keir Starmer as anger grows over the government's plans to break a key manifesto pledge and raise income tax. The Times also reports more than 9 million pensioners face paying an extra £380 a year on average, as Rachel Reeves is also expected to cut national insurance in the budget this month. It's understood the discontent is also fuelled by the party's poll ratings. The UK could be set for a tougher Denmark-style immigration system, as the Home Secretary is expected to announce a huge shake-up. The Danish system is seen as one of the toughest in Europe, and it's understood Shabana Mahmood is considering plans to use their tighter rules on family reunion and restricting most refugees to a temporary stay in the country. It comes as GB News can reveal that 1,500 migrants have crossed the English Channel on small boats since Thursday, taking this year's total so far to more than 38,000. The White House has accused the BBC of being purposefully dishonest when a Panorama documentary selectively edited a speech made by the president on the day of the Capitol Hill riot.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight.
Different parts of Donald Trump's speech had been spliced together while removing the word peacefully. Speaking to The Telegraph, his press secretary branded the move as 100% fake news. Meanwhile, a BBC spokesperson told GB News that the broadcaster takes feedback seriously and considers it carefully. A woman is in a critical condition after she was stabbed in Birmingham in what police have described as an unprovoked attack. The woman in her 30s suffered a serious neck injury and remains in hospital. West Midlands police were called to Smallbrook, Queensway shortly before 9 p.m. last night, and a man in his 20s has been arrested. And former Top Gear presenter Quentin Wilson has died at the age of 68 after a short battle with lung cancer. The TV presenter, motoring journalist and author helped to shape the original Top Gear series as one of its first hosts, working alongside Jeremy Clarkson. Wilson also launched a Fair Fuel campaign which helped to freeze fuel duty, preventing more than £100 billion in taxation. His family have described him as a true national treasure. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday 5 Extra. Now, you've all been getting your questions in, which means it's time for this. It is time for you to have your say and ask the 5. So let's have a listen to our first question from Susan.
Hi, 20 years ago I was due to go into hospital for a major life-saving operation. I went to sleep the night before, but at 3 o'clock I woke up to see a figure standing next to my bed. It was dressed exactly like my granddad. I couldn't see the face, but I could hear his voice, and the voice was telling me, "Don't worry, you'll be okay, don't worry." And then I went back to sleep. Have you ever had any experiences with the spiritual world, or do you just think it's a load of bunkum? Thanks.
I love that.
So gosh. It is a great story. Now, I know that you might have one, but I've got one too. So you all know our friend Adam, the publican.
Yes.
So I took my Alice, who was only about 2.5, down to one of his pubs. And we got there at a reasonable time, and there was no one there because we were a bit early, and he showed us into this room. Now, Alice is the calmest child on the planet. She doesn't tantrum, she doesn't cry, she goes with the flow. We took her into this room, and she went ballistic, hysterical, crying, wouldn't be in the room. I was getting cross with her. Daddy, of course, was saying, well, there was obviously something wrong. Let's humour her. And eventually, she was so crazy that we said to Adam, can we go somewhere else in the pub? And he moved us out of that room, at which point she calmed down and we had a lovely lunch. During the lunch, there were other children in that room and she would go to the door but would not step into it.
Wow.
And when we spoke to Adam's mum later, she said, she feels it. I said, what does she feel? She said, we've actually had someone in, we've had an exorcist in. That room is where the local gallows used to be. And some people feel it.
Wow.
No! So I always say to Adam that I'm going to bring her back now she's older and see if she still feels it.
That'd be great. You should do that. I love Adam's pub, so I'm happy to come.
Children are more susceptible. I mean, that actually just reminded me of another one. It's not technically my story. I was the subject of it, but it's technically my mom's. Apparently, when I was like a toddler, I was in the bath, and she went to go get a towel or something. Apparently, I just went from happy, smiley, and all of a sudden, I just turned and went, "Where do you think you're going?" And it was so random. And she was like, "I was just going downstairs, sweetie." She went and rang my nan. She was like, "Emma's possessed." Another one was when I was in my bedroom, and my nan's music box, which I haven't touched in years, it's just on like the top shelf. It's like hardly been touched. And all of a sudden, I was just looking through some old photos, and all of a sudden, it just played a few notes, and that was it.
I would have run out of the house screaming if that was me. Sounds like The Exorcist or something.
It didn't feel creepy, though.
But they sound
weird.
creepy, don't
It does,
Old
yeah.
music boxes are all
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's just how they sound.
But I do. I mean, she asked whether we believe in it. I 100% do. I mean, even when I was on The Apprentice, I would get all mic'd up. I'd go into the garden, my brother passed, and I would always speak to him. I trillion% believe that nobody ever really dies, and their spirit just exists somewhere else. 100%.
What about you, Kai?
100%.
Well, actually, what Susan was asking is not... I think you've all taken it to be about paranormal, but actually, I think it's to do with having strange men at all times of the night towering over you, which I have lots of experience of. So thank you, Susan, for bringing that one up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
I'm prone to a mood swing anyway, without seeing a ghost. I do love an old building, though. Any excuse to go around a castle, the National Trust, I love all that. So
You can do
maybe
ghost
I'll
walks
see
at Edinburgh Castle.
Oh, perfect. Ghost walks, yes.
There you
lovely.
go. OK, so I have some Ask the Fives. The first one, would any of you work for the BBC in the future, apart from the dafty on the far left?
Yes, I would.
So should we start with you?
Yeah, actually, so I've done some commentating for BBC Wales, BBC Cymru in Welsh, and that's pretty much the extent of it. But my grandmother was on the first ever episode of Pobl y Cwm, which is it shows on S4C, and it is one of the longest running soap operas in the world.
My goodness.
Top tip.
100%. I mean, I used to have dreams of being on the BBC. That was Top of the Pops when I was actually a little kid.
You were.
I did end up doing Top of the Pops twice, but I actually think the BBC is a great institution. They don't always get it right, but I think they're genuinely great. I've done two great documentaries. I've gone 2 documentaries of the BBC. They tackle a lot of great subjects. And
The Apprentice isn't a documentary.
Well, I was on The Apprentice as well. Of course, I love the BBC, 100%.
They're going to have to clean up their act before they get me, I'm sure they're desperate to get
So
me.
they have had me. So I worked for 5 years on BBC Radio London, where I did a weekly medical call-in show. My proudest thing is that I managed to continue that show through COVID, despite, as you know, being a COVID sceptic, and I was able to say what I wanted to say, but not to be cancelled by the BBC, which I think is quite a feat.
That is amazing.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, I think I'd like to work with the BBC if I could go undercover. And just to gather intel. So, you know, if GB News want to send me undercover in the BBC.
Like a Charlotte Gill type situation.
I mean, BBC London do this thing called Making a Difference Awards. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, it's absolutely magical. You must agree. The BBC do some great things. They really, really do.
But isn't a lot of that in the past? Obviously, I
No, I mean, now. It was just literally, it was a couple of months ago. It was brilliant.
Being a state broadcaster, they have the resource.
I left that show because they went through a stage where they actually got rid of all of their white middle-aged presenters. Joanne Good, who I worked with as a friend and loved her, was one of them. They asked me to stay on, and I just said, no. You've done that to Joe, I'm not staying.
Yeah, I mean...
Very noble of you.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, well done.
OK, should we go to the next one? The next one is, if Labour are successful in ousting Starmer, who would you put in his place?
No one in Labour.
You have to choose.
You have to
choose someone.
Come back to me.
OK,
really
so I think that that's a terrifying prospect of them getting rid of Starmer, because I actually think anyone we get in his place will be more socialist, more tax-happy, and things will get even worse if they possibly could.
Secretary?
But who do you think would have a better chance of beating, say, a Nigel Farage, if you had to choose from?
None of them.
Well, than Keir Starmer? A better chance than Keir Starmer?
I don't think Labour can beat Nigel Farage. I think the only way they're going to beat Nigel Farage is by tactical voting.
And that looks like the route they might want to go down.
But you're saying who has the best chance?
Yeah, against Nigel Farage.
I think it's Wes Streeting, isn't it?
Do you?
Yeah, he's the most charismatic, the most charming,
the youth aren't a fan of him.
I don't know about charismatic, though. I mean, that is maybe for a politician.
He's a good fighter.
Yeah, for a politician. And you say the youth aren't a fan of him.
Yeah.
Of course, this is me answering the question and not the people who'd actually be voting for him, so that's a flaw, isn't it?
Trey?
Again, I think the Home Secretary is definitely going to give him a run for his money. I think she's being quite tough. I think she's being quite pragmatic, and I think a lot of people potentially would get behind her. I mean, that's the only thing that probably would beat reform, I think, on the Labour side.
So you're a Labour insider over there. What do you think?
I think that there's good talent, actually, in the cabinet, right? And there's also interesting talent just outside of the cabinet in Angela Rayner. What I think about, when I think about who's likely to take over, the right of the party, people on the right of the Labour Party, like Shabana Mahmood and Wes Streeting, are good communicators, as you identified. But do they command a majority of the members' votes? Probably not. Who might do that? If you have too many people on the right of the party, somebody else could sneak up through the middle who is a very good communicator. It is Angela Rayner, I'm afraid. I think she is dead on most likely to be the next leader of the Labour Party after May.
Is that because she uses phrases like dead on?
I agree that I agree in thinking that she probably will be. Whether that's the right decision, though, I don't know if I agree. Yeah. I will, as much as I'm not a big fan of Mahmood, I take your point that there have been a few things that have pleasantly surprised me. So I suppose if I had to choose out of the multiple evils, then maybe I'd go that way. But I don't know. I think even within the Labour Party, I think if you were going to try and convince people that weren't watching the news all the time, every single day, it would have to be someone that you've never heard of, because every single person that you've heard of has some kind of issue tied to them.
Do you know what I think? I think people are willing to give people the benefit of the doubt if they can start turning things around, say the right things. I think a lot at the minute, if it's going to be a match-up against Nigel Farage, which I think it will be, it's a lot to do with, can people really see you both going toe-to-toe? Right now, Keir Starmer versus Farage, I don't see it, don't know about you. Angela Rayner going toe-to-toe with Farage, I can see it.
OK, so move this to the point that we've got reports today that people are plotting within Labour.
Yes,
do you think that they will realistically get rid of Starmer? Because Labour are not good at changing their leader, we know that. They're quite loyal.
I think the problem is, sorry, they've been talking about it for a while, then we had a recess and a conference speech that sort of got him over the line, and now it's looking like, oh, people are going to be angry with the budget. May is going to be so disastrous that I think they will, but the question is, who will move first. Somebody has to go over the top. You know, where's Shabana Mahmood? Somebody has to blink first and challenge him. And at that point, then I think things do move. But the problem that they'll then have is what comes after is a really horrible bun fight of a sort of inter-fighting within Labour. Now, in the past, that has gone terribly. That will drag on for months. And actually, people from their experience with the Tories are sick and tired of that kind of behaviour from what is meant to be serious political parties who are vying to run the country.
Do you think that Farage's prediction that the government will fall in 27 is anywhere close to being true?
I think it's willful thinking. Because I watched his whole speech, and I watched Richard Tyson in his fireside chat at Bloomberg on Wednesday as well, and they're predicating that on essentially an economic crisis of such a magnitude that the government falls and fails to pass budget resolutions.
Goodness.
Now, that could happen, but it depends how this budget goes, if things worsen or get better. And actually, what we've seen from the gilt yields recently is that luckily for Reeves, things have improved by factors quite outside of her doing. But that might improve again, so you might not be in that situation by 2027.
Sure, but just in case we are, people at home, there is a way around it. It's time for the Great British Giveaway now. And if you're starting to feel festive or worry about what Kai's just said, how about Christmas on us this year? We've got £40,000 cash to give you to spend on the Christmas of your dreams, £1,000 to spend on Christmas lunch from your favourite supermarket, and a GB News festive goodie bag, which, as I said earlier, will have tray in it. And the best news of all, you'll get it all in time for the big day. Sound great? Well, here's all the details that you need for a chance to win.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Welcome back, guys. Kai forgot that he was on TV in the break. Anyway, next on the Saturday 5 Extra, we'll be talking to a former British Army officer about Remembrance Weekend, which is where we are right now. You're with the Saturday 5 Extra live on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Daily Mail going on a headline, woke gardens to tackle absenteeism, and stop asking people's questions, it makes them anxious. Now, of course it makes you anxious.
It's your job.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what they're going, and it's very easy to go with the popular view here. But I think they're not saying all pupils. They're asking to take into account that there may be, in certain sets of the classes, neurodivergent people, autistic, for whom it does make it. So I do work with children who've been in care, and sometimes I've got people in the room who are autistic, and because I'm energetic and stuff, I've got to be very careful how I approach them. So sometimes, if I'm asking a question, I won't even look.
But Chris, I don't think
that you can break up. You can sit and say, well, we've got Dawn, better not ask her that. Chris, I can't ask her this. And whatever. You know, you can't keep differentiating and cutting things up like that. I think you have to relook at what teachers are expected to do.
I think if we're preparing children for the outside world, we have to be tougher with them than we are. Now, you can't wrap them up in cotton wool. The world does not revolve around them. They have to toughen up, sorry.
And you will be asked questions in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. So are you saying that exclude them from the classroom so that you can concentrate on the main body?
But yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. That might be a solution. Well, so you go back to having schools that cater for.
You see, when people say questions make you anxious. Yes, I was anxious.
Yeah. We all are. I was anxious. I was anxious when I went to the track, and I was a world class athlete. I was still anxious when you go to the final. Yeah, we get that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday 5 Extra. Thank you so much for your messages so far. I've got a couple here still to read out. Going back to the beginning when we talked about the BBC, Ice Cold Truth says, you watch, there will be a lawsuit with Trump versus the BBC. Trump will win and the licence fee will go up. Something to look forward to, isn't it, guys? But anyway, look, this is a really important weekend. It's Remembrance Sunday tomorrow, a day to remember the service and sacrifice of all of those that have defended our freedoms and protected our way of life, that allows us to be here today, speaking our minds and saying what we want to you. Communities have been getting creative with raising money. We've seen thousands of handmade crocheted and knitted poppies being hung from a church in West Yorkshire town by the Chatter Knit Community Group. We see postbox toppers everywhere, and we've seen the opening of a garden of remembrance in Haddington by former British Army officer. And joining us is that very officer, Stuart Crawford. Stuart, welcome to us tonight on this very special weekend. As you can see, I'm wearing my crocheted poppy, but we had a picture of you there in a garden of remembrance. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, good evening, and thank you for the introduction. The Garden of Remembrance, it's the first year that we have done it in the town of Haddington, which is a market town in East Lothian, about 20 miles from the centre of Edinburgh, where I've lived for 25, 26 years now. And it came about through happy circumstances. The garden is a charity garden, and I happen to be a trustee of the garden. And my best friend, my former comrade from army days, is the managing director of the poppy factory in Edinburgh, where poppies are still made by hand by veterans, disabled veterans. And we were discussing the fact that there was a big garden of remembrance in Edinburgh on Princes Street, which is a very well-established one. And over a cup of tea, or it actually may have been something stronger, we thought, well, you know, I'm a trustee of the garden in Haddington. Why don't we try and do the same thing down there? And so it has come to pass. And over the past week, we've had a variety of people coming through, mainly local, donating to Poppy Scotland and planting crosses in memory of their friends and family who sadly didn't come back from the various conflicts. So it's been a hugely interesting and in many ways poignant and moving experience for me. And it may be the only time we do it, but I'm hoping that the town will continue with it from here on in.
So was it well received by the people around the town?
Yes, very much so. I mean, it always, it doesn't amaze me, but it always interests me that you'd think that 107 years of the First World War and 80 years on from the end of the Second World War, memories would fade and people would lose interest. But my experience is it's completely the opposite. And the younger generation, young people still in their late teens and early 20s, seem to have a sort of revived interest in everything about the poppy and what it commemorates, and the events, the dreadful events in many ways, that brought it about. So it has proved popular. There's always a slow start from something that's new, a new initiative, because people have to rely eventually on word of mouth getting out there. But I've been really pleased with the turnout so far.
And do you have anything planned for tomorrow in the garden?
Oh yes, so I'll be there, as I have been for the past week, reasonably early in the morning, and I'll have my box of crosses, a collection tin, and even a card reader in these modern times. And I'll be there between about 10 o'clock in the morning and just approaching 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And the garden is right next to St Mary's Church in Haddington, which holds its own Remembrance Parade and Remembrance Service. And I'm hoping that people who attend both the commemoration at the War Memorial and the church service will find their way into the garden and perhaps plan to plop a poppy there.
Absolutely brilliant. Do you think that we need somehow, as we're losing all of our veterans now, there's not many of them left, there's a handful, and obviously we will sadly lose those. Do you think we somehow have to get together some initiatives that go into schools, teach them about this, to just keep it going?
Well, I think that's a very good idea, but I also believe that that's already in hand. And I should also say that whilst the initial circumstances behind the poppy was the First World War, I continued into the Second World War, and those veterans are, as you said, very sadly leaving us now. But we still commemorate those who became casualties or died during the Korean War, the Falklands War, the troubles in Northern Ireland, the Iraq wars, Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. And so while the numbers of casualties, thank goodness, are not as horrendous as they were in the global conflicts, there's still a large number of casualties, and I think it's very important that we remember those who went away on our behalf and didn't come back.
Absolutely.
I remember, Stuart, when I was a kid, I was just young enough to be able to speak to my grandparents about, or just old enough, I should say, about their experiences of the Second World War. Who do kids speak to today? Because, as Renee said, there's hardly anybody left that they can speak to who's directly there.
Well, that's true, but they have, there are still family members who will remember certainly their father's generation that participated in the Second World War. And in my case, sitting in the garden, just tending to the people coming through, I was really heartened yesterday, when two young lads from the local high school, sixth form local high school, came down into the garden to keep me company and asked me about what it was all about. And that was absolutely marvellous. And they stayed for half an hour. And I think that's a very optimistic sign of the fact that we're not going to forget.
Yeah. Trey?
Hey, Stuart, I just want to say this as well. I mean, I absolutely love history. I love the fact that there are people like you working to make sure that we remember what happened. And I just want to ask you, what do you think about the fact that a lot of people don't realise that these wars were an empire effort? So you had, obviously everyone knows about Anzac forces, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, but not many people know about Africa Corps or the West Indian Corps or the Indian regiments, the Sikh regiments, the Muslim regiments. Do you think that's important that we actually preserve those memories too?
Oh, absolutely. And, Britain and its then Commonwealth countries, which participated in the First World War and Second World War, I think it's very important to remember the contribution that came from far-flung places, particularly if you look at the history of the Second World War, the number of people who came from India and elsewhere, New Zealand and Australia and Canada, to fight in North Africa, and then the Burma campaign against the Japanese, Imperial Japanese forces, in which the Indian Army did absolute marvels from a standing start. So these things are well worth preserving. But I think if you've got an interest in that sort of history, it's relatively straightforward to find out and commemorate the contribution of those people who came from elsewhere to help in what was a national struggle. And I would encourage everybody to read into it as much as they can. All the information that's out there, and with modern communications and the internet, it's quite easy to at least get started on the history of those who came from elsewhere.
I mean, it's really quite incredible that you say that, and I couldn't agree more with everything you say. We did hear from an education expert earlier, and I didn't know this, that World War I and II are not compulsory teaching in schools' history right now. And that's quite staggering, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a shame because it is an important part of our national history and our heritage. But I do understand that there are people who think that the teaching of that is a sign of sort of incipient militarism and the celebration of warfare. I can assure you that almost everybody who has been to war, and I have been, has no desire whatsoever to ever repeat the experience. And I think it's important to recognise that we're not glorifying warfare. What we're doing is remembering warfare in the hope that we can someday stop it ever happening again.
Yeah, what a great place to leave it, Stuart. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you the utmost of luck tomorrow, and hopefully everybody around the country will be honouring those people who died for our freedoms. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So amazing. Everybody
beautiful.
should remember what weekend we're on. It's so important.
Yeah.
But next we'll be bringing you the most uplifting stories of the week, and some of them have made us cry. Find out more after the break.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy thundery rain is heading towards parts of Spain and Portugal as we go into next week. But before that, the heavy thundery downpours across the Balearics through today, now heading eastwards across into parts of the central Med and going to affect Italy as we go through tomorrow. Could cause some impacts. Further west, turning drier, albeit across western parts of Portugal and Spain. A front is going to be moving in, and this could bring some downpours as we go through next week. Otherwise, a lot of dry weather for many.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Clear skies this evening means it will be feeling chilly, turning wet and windy from the west though, and it's often going to remain unsettled as we head our way into Monday. For the time being though, we have had some sunny spells this afternoon, soon being replaced however by cloud and outbreaks of rain, pushing their way in from the west as a frontal system pushes through. So more clouds, some spells of at times quite heavy and blustery rain, particularly across Northern Ireland as we head our way further into the early hours of Sunday. But to the south of this, a very different story. Mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, so feeling chilly overnight. And it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the time we reach Sunday morning. Now, there is going to be some unsettled weather for the second half of the weekend. Mostly cloudy across Scotland, some spells of rain at times, particularly in the west where it could be quite heavy and blustery. But most of the rain will have cleared Northern Ireland through the early hours of the morning, though we can't rule out some showers around coastal areas. Spells of heavy rain will eventually start to push into Wales, southwest England through the course of the morning. But to the east and southeast, a dry and bright start to the day. Any mist and fog should clear away fairly quickly. That's because we're going to start to see those winds pick up, so turning breezy, particularly as we head our way into the afternoon, and heavy downpours eventually pushing in to western areas. But some sunshine will develop by the afternoon across Northern Ireland, so brightening up here and even across the east and southeast, it should be mostly dry and bright, more hazier spells of sunshine as we see a build of high cloud, but still feeling pleasant, and any brighter spells, highs of around 15 degrees Celsius. Further spells of rain heading our way into Monday, pushing into Northern Ireland, Northern England and southern Scotland. Also a second band of heavy rain starting to push in from the south. Elsewhere, there will be some bright and sunny spells, though once again we can't rule out some showers. And I'm afraid the unsettled theme will stick with us into next week, with temperatures around or just above average.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You have the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 Extra, everybody. What an uplifting interview. But now it's time for more uplifting things. We've got High Five, where we all discuss our favourite moments from the past week. And, you know, in these dark times, that's not always so easy. But coming up next...
What does Remembrance Sunday mean for you? What is your message?
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye those rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
So that's actually my high five for this week. And I think some people thought, well, hang on a minute, how is that a high five? Because of what actually went on that interview, which we can get to. But before we do, the reason I made it my high five is that made me cry. A 102-year-old man who fought in the wars for us has to be celebrated. We have to say to him, well done and thank you. And that's what I wanted to say as part of my high five. I wanted to say thank you. No more, no less, because what he did for our country against all odds was unreal. So I think, before I cry again, let's just talk about that clip.
Yeah, I thought, I think his name's Alec Penstone, isn't it? Very dignified man, and quite a bold sort of thing to say. Quite brave in the current climate.
Very brave, yeah.
And then I thought Kate Garraway's response was just so disappointing, condescending. I felt like she didn't really give him the floor. I think she even put her hand on him at one point and said, well, don't worry, we're going to sort things out. Yeah. Which was just an outrageous thing to say to somebody.
I don't know if she put her hand on his shoulder because he was leaning forward. So I don't know if it was a...
But, you know, it was so... So we kind of, between us, debated this week, didn't we? Because one of us wanted to use it as a tantrum by them, by Adaway and Kate Garraway, because they treated him so badly, instead of actually listening to what he was saying. And it would resonate with lots of people. They didn't. And some of us wanted to just, because it's Remembrance Weekend, say, you know what? Well done and thank you for being in that war for us. So, you know, there are two sides to that story, for sure.
Did we ever know what he meant by it? Does anyone know? Because when he says that the country's gone down, he didn't say what he meant by that. Does he mean he thinks it's turning towards a sort of fascist direction? Yeah. Or is it a case he just doesn't recognise? No, but we don't know. I don't know, honestly.
Didn't really specify too much. But what I would say about that is I have seen some tweets online. I can't remember which specific tweet it was or who tweeted it, but it was something along the lines of, like, you know, oh, we had bread rationing. At this time, the age expectancy was this. How dare you sit there and say that life is worse now? And at the end of the day, like, yes, but why were we living that? Why was there rations? Why was the life expectancy so low? Because we were in a war. Now, we are not in a war, and yet our freedoms are still being taken away. So I would assume, and this is just an assumption, but I would assume that he meant our verbal freedoms and things of freedom of speech as well.
That they fought for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Well, and I think a more generous interview would have drawn that.
Yeah, and I wish they had gone into it a little bit and got a sense of what he meant, because someone that sacrificed his life for the nation deserved to have his 5 minutes, whatever it is, for him to actually say what he meant. We could have learnt a lot from that, you know?
Yeah, but they did that lefty woke thing, didn't they, where they were terrified he might say something like migrants ruin our country, and they didn't want him to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know for sure that's why they didn't give him the time. We really don't know.
They just were too scared to let him speak. But anyway, I say thank you. Thank you for your service.
You, absolutely.
And Emma, I'm going to go to you and your high five.
Thank you so much. So this week, obviously, the actual incident itself, the Huntingdon train stabbings, is not a cheerful subject, but the heroes that have come out of this situation are being celebrated. Now, I'd just like to point out Samir Zatouni. I apologise if I'm not pronouncing that right. He's a 48-year-old railway worker. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's been a railway worker for over 20 years, I believe. And now so many people have come forward that if it wasn't for him, they would not have survived that brutal attack. And I just think it really restores my faith in humanity that in an age where most people would just get out their phones and start filming when someone else is being attacked, like we've all seen on X, it's just horrendous. There are people who will still step in and actually defend you.
Who is still critical, I believe, in hospital. Let us not forget that, and we wish him, you know, good health as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, speedy recovery.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that is a high five.
It is. Great story.
President, what do you have for us?
My story, mine's about a podcast being launched, which doesn't sound so important. But it's a good podcast. It's a podcast called Dad's Behaving Madly, and it's a podcast that celebrates fatherhood. It started off with a group of dads in North Yorkshire, and when it started, it was for fathers of children with disabilities or special needs, and now it's grown, and now it can be anybody. They've had episodes talking about parental survival. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not a parent, but obviously it's difficult to be a parent. They've talked about mental health. They've talked about different ways of looking after children. It just sounds. It sounds uplifting to me.
I love it.
Good for the dads.
I really do love that.
I love it.
When I arrived at the studio today, I was looking for a parking place, and there was a black guy sitting with his car thing up, sitting on his boot, feeding his little tiny baby. And I parked my car and I walked past and I said to him, what a beautiful sight. And I think we should celebrate dads and also give them the support that they need. So I think it's a brilliant idea.
I think it's groups like this that will help the next generation of fathers to step up. I mean, I don't know if it's been more of a thing with my generation, but single moms are more common now. I think that groups like this will maybe
absolutely. And I sit in my car often and I feed my little son. And it's funny, I had one or two people commenting because I had a picture of it. One or two men thinking it was like not a masculine thing to do, and I can't believe
the most masculine
there are still some men that think it's not a masculine thing to feed my own son.
You know, I looked at that guy and I thought it was
it's the most beautiful thing.
Masculine thing.
Particularly boys need their dads. I think the number one thing, if we could wave a magic wand in this country, would be more dads.
It would change everything.
Of course it would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trey, what have you got for us?
It's like you've planned this. This is actually a continuation. I mean, I am celebrating
no planning here,
one of my favourite Brits in this country, and that, of course, is Sir David Beckham. And he got his knighthood this week, which I think is brilliant. I mean, like we just said, I think young men and young boys are desperately in need of role models, and he's an absolute role model. I mean, he survived horrendous persecution with that little tackle against Argentina back in the days. You know, he's been married for so long, 3 kids. You know, he's 4 kids. My God, that's my father's brain. 4 kids. Yeah, one of the kids is a bit AWOL, didn't turn up for the. But yeah, no, I just think he's exactly what a lot of young boys and young men need, is a real role model. You know, someone that men and boys can really look up to. You know, someone to be proud of. So yeah, that's my high five.
Yeah. Look, I couldn't agree more. I think this was a long time coming for Sir David Beckham, because you know we had Emma Raducanu get an honour, not that one obviously, but an honour for winning one tennis match. This guy has been a figurehead in our sports for decades.
I'm not going to lie, I don't really know how much about David Beckham. I don't really follow sports.
You're too young.
But what I do know about him is, like all my footballers says, everyone loves him. Everyone who has an opinion of it. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about him. And in celebrity culture these days, that's
quite hard to do. Yeah, no, I mean, I know obviously he's had a bit of scandal or whatever around what happened in his marriage, but you know, as long as his wife has accepted him, I think it's none of our business.
They still seem happy.
But I think what he represents, I think the fact that he became the most hated person in this country, and he got through that with so much dignity, but so much dignity, you know, and he's made such a difference as well. You know, his services to charity and to everything else, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Kai, can you beat that?
Can I beat that? I'm not so sure. But I am reaching across the aisle in my high five, because mine is about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, if you know Marjorie Taylor Greene, some of you viewers might For those of you who don't, she's a MAGA loyalist congresswoman who has, said some controversial things about Jewish space lasers and about Hillary Clinton being involved in child sacrifice rituals. But actually recently she's shown a bit of independence. She's not the Trump administration's biggest fan. And this week, when Nancy Pelosi announced that she was standing down from Congress, not standing again, she had this to say.
I will praise Nancy Pelosi. She had an incredible career for her party. I served under her speakership in my first term of Congress, and I'm very impressed at her ability to get things done. I wish we could get things done for our party like Nancy Pelosi was able to deliver for her party. So I wish her well in her retirement.
Classy politics.
It is classy, and it's the way that politicians should actually behave.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
She was polite, she was respectful, and she was doing something nice to someone who she really probably doesn't agree with at all.
Yes, and she doesn't agree with her because Nancy Pelosi was by far one of the most effective politicians in, I would say, recent US history. Talk to anybody around her. I worked in her office, and Alex Armstrong, of course, would call her a communist, as he did before we went on air, but I would not. She's far from it. But, to say that from Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, I thought I would put that up as my high
It's good.
five.
It's a political sportsmanship, isn't it? And it feels like everything's so... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we've lost that.
We have. Everything's too controversial now.
Yeah.
OK, guys, they were brilliant, thank you. But coming up next...
As my 6-year-old son just came into my room, did the Wakanda Forever arms, and said Zoran for president.
I'm lost for words. It's the last batch of our triggered tantrum, so don't go anywhere.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around, a nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going.
A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday 5 Extra. We're on the final furlong. Now it's time to reveal the last batch of our triggered tantrums. Don't laugh, Kai. Cressida.
Well, mine is, it's kind of self-explanatory. Should we just watch the clip?
As my 6-year-old son just came into my room, did the Wakanda Forever arms, and said Zoran for president.
You see how New York gives New York? New York makes me so emotional. Very demure, very mindful. Man, New York just...
I didn't even realize how much I needed this. How much we needed this. I'm not even a voting New Yorker anymore, but seeing Mamdani win, I'm sobbing into my breakfast because he did. He just did what Kamala couldn't do, which is unite people across the spectrum of compassion.
Across the spectrum of compassion. I don't even know what that means. These are people who are so excited about Mamdani getting in New York that they're actually in tears about it. They seem to think that politicians can change their life that dramatically.
They can.
They can. I find it quite heartening that...
Dare to hope, Cressida, dare to hope. I think it's wonderful.
In 2 years' time, when all the shops are boarding up in New York and there's no wealth left there anymore, let's hope they can find a food bank.
Shall we broker another bet, Dr. Renee?
Will the US learn from the UK, yes or no?
Trey, what have you got?
So I've got quite a light-hearted tantrum, although I'm sure for the guy whose vehicle they're coming from, it wasn't that light-hearted. Let's roll the VT.
Do it. Come on. Get my car. Come on. If I come on. How long can you do that for? Come on. Oh, come on. We'll get to my car. Get in your Take my car. Do you want something of that?
Now it's your car.
Oh, mate, chill out.
Now it's your car.
Dude.
He seems nice.
I love that. You know, if the bailiffs ever come to your door, I think that might be a way to protect your assets. I do wonder whether they actually got away with his car or not.
I would imagine they did, because I think bailiffs actually have seen it all.
Yeah, true.
But, I mean, you know, that just demonstrates anger issues, doesn't it?
I think that's how people should start reacting when the BBC people come to the door for the TV licensing.
Oh, God.
Very good. Do you see how much we link this show together, guys? Hours of planning.
Oh, God.
Kai,
Exactly.
what have you got for us?
Well, if you like those, you'll like this video. Let's play the tape.
You should be saying that they should be banned from playing football. They should be banned for any... Because of what they're doing.
What, the Maccabi Tel Aviv players are colonising the West Bank, are they?
You know,
come on,
they are part of the government.
No, they're not. They're a football team. What do you mean they're part of the government? They're footballers. When we invaded Iraq illegally, you were on the streets, were you, campaigning for Man U, Chelsea and Liverpool to be banned from the Champions League?
By even mentioning Iraq. Iraq was an illegal war.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
You were.
Yeah, it does expose the sort of Israeli exceptionalism that the left has, where they sort of expect Israel to be, and Israeli fans and people treated differently based on what their government is doing, and don't apply that to any other countries because they happen to be Jews. Yeah, exactly.
Let's just call
it's
it
a nonsense.
out for what it is.
And you know I often do. I mean,
and often don't.
That is not.
Let's not pretend that these things weren't stoked up by people like Zara Sultana saying that they should actually be tried and investigated for war crimes the moment they step foot on you.
Yeah, well, she's...
That is, you know, that's going to get people riled up.
Yeah, and she is nuts.
Yeah,
I accept that. She's not part of my party, and she's certainly not my kind of left wing.
No, but there's a lot of left wing, isn't there, that just still is obsessed by the Jews. Let's face it, we might hear quite often, oh, Keir Starmer purged the Labour Party of anti-Semitism. But did he, Kai? Did he really?
Yes. He's done a really proper good go at it, and we see lots of those people finding a political home in the Green Party, Dr. Renee.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I agree that the left has a problem with anti-Semitism.
Why?
I've called out so often, but I'm able to have that nuanced debate and discussion about separating Netanyahu's government's role and what it has done, and separating that outside of this a little bit, because we seem not to be able to have that conversation on the right, for instance, in this country. But I've called this out for what it is. It's Jew hate, and people treat Israel differently.
I am going to clip that for future use, but in the meantime, I would say thank you for being here tonight, Kai, and to all of my other lovely guests, and for you, our lovely audience. And if you were worried about me not reading out things at the end, it was because we had a little bit of a problem with your say, so I'm sorry about that, but we read out everything that we could. So thank you for joining in the fun as best you could tonight. We had a fabulous time, but now, of course, I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleague, Alex Armstrong. Alex, what have you got tonight?
Fantastic show, Dr. Renee. Love being part of it today. Of course, brilliant show. Listen, I've got a bombshell expose about the state of our prisons. Are they overflowing as much as you're being told, or are you being gaslit yet again? Trust me, you're not going to want to miss that one. I'm also going to be verifying BBC Verify, because someone's got to fact-check the fact checkers. Trust me, again, bombshell stuff in that massive show. See you in 5.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Clear skies this evening means it will be feeling chilly, turning wet and windy from the west though, and it's often going to remain unsettled as we head our way into Monday. For the time being though, we have had some sunny spells this afternoon, soon being replaced however by cloud and outbreaks of rain, pushing their way in from the west as a frontal system pushes through. So more clouds, some spells of at times quite heavy and blustery rain, particularly across Northern Ireland as we head our way further into the early hours of Sunday. But to the south of this, a very different story. Mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, so feeling chilly overnight, and it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the time we reach Sunday morning. Now, there is going to be some unsettled weather for the second half of the weekend, mostly cloudy across Scotland, some spells of rain at times, particularly in the west where it could be quite heavy and blustery, but most of the rain will have cleared Northern Ireland through the early hours of the morning, though we can't rule out some showers around coastal areas. Spells of heavy rain will eventually start to push into Wales, southwest England through the course of the morning, but to the east and southeast, a dry and bright start to the day. Any mist and fog should clear away fairly quickly. That's because we're going to start to see those winds pick up, so turning breezy, particularly as we head our way into the afternoon, and heavy downpours eventually pushing in to western areas. But some sunshine will develop